Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna start working on my next little clock that I got. This is an Ansonia musical alarm clock. It has the little A symbol in the center for Ansonia, and above it says patented March 27th, 1877. I haven't been able to find this clock in any of the clock catalogs that are available online to see when it was made, but I'm guessing around 1905 or so, probably. The first musical alarm clocks I could find was about 1908. But this one is unusual in the nickel-plated little decorative face. It's got some angels and ribbons at the top, and it looks like an angel with a scythe at the bottom and a skull. I hadn't really looked at that before. A bench and a little skull, it looks like right there. Shovel something. I don't know. It's very interesting. So when I got it and wound it, it started running. I was very excited about that. And I think it's an 8-day wind. I don't know, because after a couple of days it quit. And so last night I started taking it apart to see why, and it started running again. So I want to go over the disassembly, but let me show you this. Hopefully it won't fall apart when I turn it, because I've taken the screws out already. The sides have a glass so you can see the movement. It's not a key wind, it's a manual wind. So you turn the handle and it winds up the spring. The top knob is for setting your time. The bottom knob is for setting your alarm. This is the fast and slow, and it attaches to a little lever on the clock that speeds it up and slows it down on the movement inside. And this little thing turns your music box on and off. So it's easy to disassemble. There are 4 nuts on the bottom. And these poles that go through the rods connecting the top to the bottom. So it's super easy. Take the 4 nuts off the bottom, take these off the back, and you're ready to start taking it apart. So I'm going to take these out. And then I need an extra hand to hold everything. The sides. And then the front. Glass, and then the plate, and you're down to the basic clock. It's run all night. It's like 2 minutes slow. It did good over about 12 hours. So you take these knobs off the back and unscrew this. Back plate comes off, and there's your movement. It's got this cool little hairspring movement at the top. One spring to run everything. So the longer you let your alarm play in the morning, the less time your clock will run during the week. So from this point, notice when I turn it, it still runs. That's the good part about not having a pendulum. The hairsprings will run in any position. it could be a traveling clock. You could take it with you. It would still be working. Music box is on the bottom. It's pretty rusted and dirty. I'm going to have to clean it up. But that's my next step. There's 4 screws there holding this to the base. And then the hands, I believe, just pressure fit. I'll slide those off. I have taken the front plate off. 2 screws held it. Slipped it off here. And it's got the Ansonia symbol under it, and it says Ansonia Clock Company, patented March 27th of 77. So this movement they patented a long time ago. I'm going to talk about what the different parts do. It's a winding movement. It does not have the 2 winding arbors with springs. This one spring controls the time and the music. So when I thought it wasn't running, it just needed to be wound up. The more you play the music, the faster your clock winds down. So if you want it to go off every morning, I guess you're going to wind it every morning. But I did a little research. So I cleaned it with some soap and water, the parts that I got off. And I was able to read right here. It says trademark Peep O Carriage. So that let me start researching what my clock might be, because I didn't know. I just thought it was a musical alarm clock. And so, let me see if I can show you that. Probably not. Get it adjusted right. That cameraman, he just took the day off, man. I don't know what happened. Alright, so that should be somewhat decent. I'm just going to have to kind of hold it up in the air. So this is the clock. This is in a museum, museumsvictoria.com. It's on the website. Alarm clock, Peep O, carriage clock, Ansonia Company, 1880s. And then it talks about the Ansonia Company a little bit. They mass-produced inexpensive clocks in Ansonia, Connecticut, and Brooklyn, founded in 1850. And then it described it, nickel on brass, metal case. It's got Father Time on the front, glass panels, and a handle. I don't know what they're talking about here. Behind the metal front, there is a willow pattern scene on the cardboard, and then a cardboard dial is stuck in front of this scene. So, unless there is some kind of cardboard under this cardboard, which I don't think there is. Maybe that was some other option that came. This is probably a zinc back, and it's got a kind of a powder-coated blue on it. What's interesting is somebody's thumbprint is etched in the top right corner there. So somebody from 100 years ago, whenever they worked on it, left their thumbprint on there. But since, and this was part of a clock collection from a gentleman named John Askew, and he donated his collection to the museum partially in the 1920s, and as he added to his collection, they expanded their collection, and he finally gave all of his stuff on loan to them in 1941 or 42, right before he died in 44 or 45. So, anyway, I felt better. I thought maybe just this front was nickel, and I wasn't really sure how to clean the sides. So let me show you some stuff here. You don't want to look at my drink glass. There we go. So parts of the case were shinier than other parts inside here where it wasn't exposed to the elements like out here. And so I ran my thumb over it, and it's just like dusty, greasy stuff. It should shine up pretty nicely. So I used my, after some warm soapy water, I used the mother's polish and cleaned it all up good. And so it should look nice when it goes back together. not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a lot older clock than I thought that it was. I was guessing around 1900, but it looks like it's between 1880 and 1897 was when they were making this. So this is probably the oldest clock I've got. So a little bit about the movement. I told you there's just the one winder, key, no key, hand wound. This front gear turns your time side. There's a little pressure spring on that gear right there. Comes forward to your hour tube, minute tube, and your intermediary wheel. When it comes off the front of there, it comes down and forward, and this is what's powering my escapement wheel and my little pins on my thingamabob that I can't think of the name of. And then it's got this wheel right here with two pins that it's ticking off of and a little hairspring. So it's really interesting to watch it. The little lever that adjusts your speed is a little, like a folded paper clip looking thing right here. And it basically wraps on one little piece of the hairspring and either snugs it up and doesn't let it bounce as far, or moves away from it and lets it move bigger. Okay, so not much to the time part of it. Pretty easy to figure out, I think. And then the music part of it comes off of the back side of the wheel, back side of the spring, sorry, to this big lantern pinion down here. Comes forward and goes to a wheel that's down from there and over to the bottom two gears here and your governor fan. So you'll see right now I've got it, if you turn this lever, it's the on-off lever. So if you flip it up, it can't, the governor fan can't turn, so your alarm doesn't go off. You flip it down, it should be going off, right? No, because it's alarm clock based. So that's why I put this one little turner back on. They just push on. They've got a little, I'm trying to do this in one hand. They're a little brass knob with a split all the way through the center hole so that you could pinch it tighter if you needed to, if it was too loose. So anyway, they slip on. And from the back side, this one turns clockwise, which turns the hand counterclockwise. So this third wheel on the front here is for your alarm. The little hand for the alarm goes on that into that arbor right there. But the very end of this it has a cutout right there on the flat part of the gear. There's a little drop off and then a little ramp that ramps it back up to the top. So you can't turn the hand backward because it kind of jams against the cutoff part. But when you turn it around, you'll see this little piece right here turn around and it's going to drop off. And this lever right here sticks out right there on the fan. Let me get it under the light a little better. Sticks out right here on the fan and keeps it from going off until it's activated. So as I turn the hand, the little pin's moving, it's coming up to the little cutoff, it's going to drop down. This little arm springs forward and moves away and lets the fan turn. So what I read was this music box plays America, or it played God Save the King for the versions that they sent to the UK. But that tune is the same. If you look it up, it's the same music with different words to it. So we have the same theme song as Great Britain, apparently. I didn't know that until I looked this up. But that's not what this song is playing, so I don't have a clue what song it's playing. There's 4 little push-in things on the sides of it. Maybe it held some type of cover that went across the bottom of this. I mean, I'm guessing it was probably covered at some point. I've seen some with wood across the bottom, but they're the German ones, not American, so I don't know what might have been on the bottom because I haven't been able to find a picture of the bottom of one yet. But so far, it's going well. So, okay, I'm going to turn this again. And this, right now, it's dropped, the little pin's dropped off, and it's against the little flat part, and the lever popped forward. So you can't turn it backwards because it's up against that flat part. So as I turn it forward, it'll climb up that little arm, and the lever can pop back out, or it'll be pushed back in as that climbs. It's interesting if you watch it. When I activate it, the whole gear pops forward. It's pretty cool. It's a cool design. Somebody really smart back in 1877 came up with a cool design. Alright, so the little arm right here is turning, the little pin going up the ramp, and now it's up on the flat part again. So I'm going to go around again, it's going to drop off, and I'll show you from the side. Watch how it pops up. Pop! It didn't go off because I have it turned off right there. Okay, so it's time to let my spring down and take this off of here. I need to clean this bottom up, and this is seriously in need of some cleaning. And then I can start breaking this down. I got ready to let this down, found my clicker, my spring. I don't have any way to put any kind of let down key. I'm going to let it out onto this kind of modified barrel. It's not an enclosed barrel. I can see the spring in between the bottom wheel and the top wheel. But anyway, so I'm going to have to put this back on my little winding knob and use it as a let-down knob. And I probably should put a glove on in case it decides to be... It shouldn't be super strong. It should be kind of like a kitchen clock alarm as far as how many winds are inside there. There'll be a few more than that, but it shouldn't be super strong. But I don't want to really get whacked with a piece of brass. In looking up clocks, I saw a really cool one that was a Tiffany clock that had the glass sides, but it had a glass cutout on the top, and this type of hairspring movement was on a platform. Looking up at you, you could see the little hairspring turn. It had a little, it was pretty neat. But Tiffany is a little out of my price range. Alright, let's see, let's put something down for a little bit of cushion. Move the click. I'm just moving the spring at the moment, not the click. Let's wind a little. Take the click out of the slot. Okay, and I'm going to have to put it back in because my wrist only turns so far. Oh, this is a 3-hand job, that's for sure. Alright, different tool. Okay, plan 2. I've released the spring and it doesn't want to turn. So I went, my brain finally kicked in. How about we just let the music play until the alarm is wound down. And that makes it a nice, easy, no-tool method. Nothing helps if you take that off. I might be just about wound down. This is what it did before when I thought there was something wrong with it. It wouldn't play the music, and sometimes it would stop, so I think we're just about out of power on our winder there. Okay. I'm going to let it tick a little bit more. Yeah, nothing's holding this side, but it doesn't have enough energy to turn the wheels, probably because it's so dirty. If anyone knows what that tune is, leave me a comment and tell me what song that is. I like it. Alright, I'm going to take this base off and get it ready to clean up. The winder comes off easily. Just wind it backwards. Alright. I don't know if I can get all the screws out with the music box in place. It looks like it's got to come out first. So one screw is here with a little nut on the music box. And there's one over there, I bet. That should let it come down. That's not a little nut. It's built into the case. Okay, cool. Looks like a nut. I bet it's stuck on the case because it's brass. Maybe soldered onto the case. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Alright, so it's looser. I should be able to remove this screw over here and finish releasing the music box. I'm sorry, I've got my hand on the light and you probably can't see much. Pretty loose, a little bit more. Alright. my music box. It's got a little damper inside. So when I put it back, I'll be looking for this gap in the pins that activate these little tines. And you can see it sat for a long time right in that position. There's little places, little tiny dots right there that didn't get as corroded as the drum. I don't know what these are made of. It says 320 on the bottom. It's the only notation on it. Alright, so now I should be able to get to my 4 screws easily. Didn't eat my Wheaties today. I can't get them unscrewed. The 100 years ago they got screwed together. Might have something to do with it. A little rust. Everybody's loose but the one. And it is not coming loose. I don't usually take the other screws out until I get them all loosened, because as you loosen each one, whatever one's not loosened puts a little more pressure on it. So I may tighten the other ones back up while I try to get that one off. Okay, not coming. Time for a little oil down in this. There's the top of the screws right here coming through this bar that's at the bottom of the movement here. That's the top of the screws. Well, depending on your perspective, here's the top of the screws, and they end right here, a little bit countersunk into this brass arm. So I'm going to put a little oil in the top there and kind of let it soak down and see if I can get anywhere that way. I don't want to tear my screws up. This is the speed adjustment. I'm taking off of the front of the movement. So this hooks on the little lever on the back of the case that you adjust fast and slow, fits over it. It's moving this, which is moving this, and it's a little tiny hook that goes on the very outside part of the hairspring. There was a washer under it too. Okay, and then I'm going to take the pin out of this, my alarm set. I'm going to not mess with the front. I'm just going to release the pin from here so that these should slide out from the front. Not wanting to slide out. Okay. Let's see if I can take any pressure off of it by turning it. Looks tighter. Cannot believe how tight this is. I went ahead and took the little hairspring movement out. This holds the very end of the hairspring, and I just pushed down on it a little bit and it slipped out. There's a split in the middle of this little piece that holds it. It's gonna be fun trying to get it back in there. I do believe. And I still didn't get that pin out. And I really don't think it's going to come apart until I do. I had success with my little screwdriver. Got it pushed part way out. Okay, and it fell off. I don't know how it fell out from under there, but it did. I guess it came forward enough to let it get out from behind it. There is a big washer on the bottom of what I'm trying to remove on the inside of the plate that's sitting on the wheels in there, so that's not going to come out. And this wheel looks like it's just pushed on the square arbor top. Let me get my hand puller. Not quite in the middle. That came off. It's pretty much at the limit of what this can do. I can barely get this down there to keep the hands from the little hooks at the bottom of this. Normally you screw this down and it forces these apart and keeps it the bottom of it clamped onto whatever you're trying to lift. But this one, it's just a hair big. I don't know if it's going to work. There we go. I just held it by hand and it pulled it up. Okay, the washer slipped off the bottom. This is going to stay on. This is going to come off. When they're bent in an S, I have a heck of a time getting them off. A little pin. Okay, I'll come back when I've got this off. Okay. Okay, and then sometimes that happens. That's why you take pictures ahead of time. Alright, now we get to figure out where everything goes. So the good part about this not being a huge movement, and it's not too bad to put back together. My throat is still bothering me. This is your winding spring. This would normally come off of here, straight down here, to turn your time. It's got the biggest lantern pinion on the whole thing. There's a 3-pronged little pressure washer on the back side of this, and this is a press-on little cam, and I am not having any luck getting it off, and I'm not going to bend it up trying to get it off. It's going to get cleaned like it is. But I wanted to show you this. Goes in the center hole, turns this, which turns this, which turns this, which makes this move on your little hairspring that's got a ring on it and a pin. This little pin right here goes back and forth between this little fork, and that's what makes your pins move on your verge. It's a pretty cool little design. So, and there's one more, this wheel. This is the alarm wheel, and it totally comes off. It's just slid on and held on by a pin at the end. And then this is a little pressure washer that when you put it into the case, you put a pin through that holds it on the back side of the case. So that goes just below the big one right there. It goes right in here. Okay, so all of this has to do with making your music play. So this time arbor has a lantern pinion at the top, and it uses this top set of wheels. And then what activates the music is this wheel with a lantern pinion at the bottom that uses this bottom row wheel. So when it turns this wheel, which turns the music box, but it also turns this whole system here. That wheel turns that wheel, turns that wheel, lets your fan spin. So I'm going to break that apart into the time side and the music box side, and then I'll be ready to take it to the ultrasound. Assuming these parts are going to come off. And that is why it did what it did. My click spring, when it loosened up, it let this get away from my clicker. Why would there be two? That's very strange. Okay, I'm gonna have to investigate that. And then this is my little delicate time side. Okay. meet you back here with everything clean. I've got my parts clean, and I was putting things back in, and when we took this apart, remember this little piece, this extra gear that the clicker locks in, and the little spring right here. Need to tighten that spring, it's not touching it. This kind of was laid there because everything blew up. So there's actually two clickers on this. So there's one on the bottom of the spring with its own clicker and spring, and then there's one here, and I'm not really sure what they do. There's a pin on this one, and then a little bar on that one, so that one turns this one somehow, but I'm not really sure why there are two. It's got to have something to do with the spring, the non-key winding function to let you be able to turn the knob to wind it. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. And putting it on here and just playing with it and seeing what it does. When you turn the winding bar, that little bar hits the pin that's on the bottom clicker gear and makes the clicking noise when you're winding. And then I'm kind of coming off here. And then this one doesn't move, the one that's on the bottom of this. It turns this way to click. Very interesting. So this one is the one that turns the music box side. Remember we talked about that? Top one turns the time, bottom one turns the music box. So this is how the music box gets to play. It unwinds your spring. And it's pretty cool. I'm still enjoying playing with this thing. But anyway, I got to get the rest of the gears back in. The case cleaned up pretty nicely. Got all the old, I don't know, like stuck on dusty stuff. It was like not even slick anymore. It was very rough. Yep, and there we go. I just set it together just to see what it would look like. Let's get this back out. Came out good. I took the glass out. These little brass tabs turn. They're riveted in, but they'll turn and let you lift the glass out to clean it. So I was able to get behind that good. And the the back came out pretty nice. Inside came out good. That's what made me start looking and trying to find what it was made of, because the inside still had shiny parts on it, so I was trying to get it a little bit, not completely looking shiny brand new, but looking cleaned and restored at least. So this is the base. The music box I took off. It cleaned up really well. This was really dirty. Because there was no bottom on it. And I took this off and cleaned it very carefully, because on the back side are the little dampers, and you don't want to soak that and have those float off. And so it sounds much louder now. So, I have just the music part of the train in, and put the screws on, the nuts on, just to hold it together and see how it would sound. I haven't wound it or anything. I don't know that I'm going to wind it just yet until I put the other side back on. Nope, this way. So that little gear matches up. Nope, I gotta have the gear on the front. Okay, so I'm not quite ready to try this yet, but anyway, it's gonna come out looking very pretty. And I want to show you one more thing I got today in the mail. This is the ad that and the instruction card that came with it. So this little piece of paper is 130 years old too. That's pretty cool. There were 3 of them for sale on eBay that had this, and most of them wanted $40 or $50. One guy wanted $10, so I said, okay, it's mine. So it says what the Peep O day alarm clock did, and it's got this little sad looking guy sitting in a chair, and it says, there was a man, wait, I better put my glasses on. There was a man who had to rise when first aurora gilds the skies, and fearing he would rise too late, he sat up half the night. His state was most unhappy, and that man, for want of sleep, grew pale and wan. Or wan, I guess. I don't know, to rhyme with man. Then it unfolds. But when he got the Peep O day alarm, he snug in bed could lay, for he was sure he up could get at any time that clock was set. He's fat and happy now, alway, since he procured the Peep O day. Ansonia Clock Company, sole manufacturers, New York, USA. And then it's printed by Donaldson Brothers, 5 Points, New York. So, then on the back, this is the clock with the Father Time on the face and the angels at the top and stuff. And it's got the directions for the clock on there, which are pretty self-explanatory. If you look at the back of the clock, it tells you turn the dials, the direction the arrow points, and speed it up to go to F, and slow it down and go to S, and turn the alarm on, push it to alarm, and make it silent, push it to silent. But yeah, that's my little find to go with my clock. Taking this plate back off to put the time side of the movement in. For those that are working on this style of clock, I just wanted to let you get a picture of the gears and where they are. I've got this escapement wheel and the little pallet pin wheel in up here, because it's got to go in before the movement is together. The final piece can go in afterwards because it's got a special holder on the back. So we are ready to put this together. And this gear is going to hit on that lantern. I didn't do my drawings because I don't know why, I got ahead of myself. So I had to try to look at my pictures and figure out which way each arbor went. So we're going to put this together and see how it goes. So if I can get a thread or two on something, that will help. Whether that be top or bottom. Didn't notice that before. This is nice. It's got a little rest that you can seat that on. That guy seems to be a little taller. So if I can get that one in the pivot hole, maybe I can get a nut on to hold the plates together. The outfit is in. Okay, we can get a couple of threads on maybe. So anyway, this will be tedious. I will get back with you when I got all the pivots in the holes. Alright, finally got this back together. This first wheel here that comes off of the time from the spring, the time wheel, and then the first one off of it. It was really hard to get the lantern pinion up in this little gap and in the hole. But finally got all that side back on. So now we are ready to start putting things on the front. Well, the back. No, yeah, it is the front. Alright, that's going to have a pin through it. Next is my tube. And this is my alarm. And this has to go at the bottom of the case. It's got to go into this down here. So this is going to be fun. I'm going to set it about over the hole, hopefully, if I can find it. This goes through here. And I almost caught it. Okay, and then this has to all get pressured back on before I can put the back on, but that's down in there. So I need a pin here, this square hole gear here. Does not want to fit down in there. Let me get my gear puller. Too big. How did I get this off before? I cannot remember. I just want to flip it over and see if it fits a little bit better. I can see some tool marks there where it was pried off some time before, so I'm going to flip it over, see if it fits on there a little better. Okay, I'll fight with that in a minute. Let's get a pin in this one. That looks too small. It's trying to go straight through. Except for the very tip of it caught. So that must be the one that I broke. So I'm going to find a new pin for this one. Because the one that was bent like an S got broken in half. Okay. Really fits on there snug. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on it. Which I forgot to do to my hour tube. When you're cleaning this, be sure to check inside for any little spurs, sometimes with wear, if it has not been maintained. This shaft will sometimes get depressions in it, and your hour tube will try to hang up on you. I've had to sand this smooth before. Alright, and I put a little bit on this shaft before I put that gear on. But I did not put any on this one because it's a square, and it's not going to be, the gear is not going to be turning on this shaft. The whole shaft is going to be turning, so I did not put any oil on this. But I'm going to put a little bit now just to try to make this go on a little bit easier. It's just pressure fitted. There's no pin through it. So I may not have it lined up just right. I feel like I do. So then it's time to do this. Alright, that's a little better. I don't really know where it needs to go in relation to the music box, so I don't want to tap it on too far. And this is adjustable. These two are not, but these two are oblong, so it will let you adjust it a little bit. Where is a screw? seems to be lining up good, but I want to put a screw through it just to make sure. I didn't catch it right there. All right, it is. There we go. So it's just barely catching. I'll put one more screw on the other side. The ones that don't slide, I'm putting those in. Okay. It is barely catching the teeth here. I think it would give some wear. I need to come back out a little bit with that. So you can see right here the wheel for the music box, and this one is inset. It's just barely catching the edge of it. It is making it turn, but it's going to wear on the very edge of that tooth. I need to bring this wheel back out a little bit to be right on top of it. That's probably something you put on after you get it all in the case. Okay, let's see how I want to try to lift that. I haven't shown you my really cool little hammer I got way back when I won that clock auction. It has multiple parts, screwdriver, a Phillips head, and a smaller straight slot. So you'd always got one on hand of the size that you need. The only problem with it is when you hammer with it, it slowly strips these gears out. The threads are not holding like they should. They probably need to be. I need to take a tap and die and redo them or do something. I can get it to hold, but then as soon as you tap it, it loosens back up again. But my brass hammer. Hence the tool marks on the back side of this, because I'm sure I'm making some right now as I do the same thing to try to get it lined up in a good spot. Luckily it's thick enough that I'm not got as big a chance of bending this thing. That may be adjustable. Might have to move it over from here, but no, that'll change my tune. If I move that over a millimeter or two, it's going to be plucking different notes on here. So the adjustment has to be made here. Okay, let's see, the next step. Let me put the parts back on the front that I took off. I will work on that adjustment more. I'm not happy with where it is. Alright, get my spring back down, get my hour tube back on. Put this back together. It's easy to figure out. It's got the little pin that activates the alarm, and you look for the side that's got the little swirly cut off, drop off. If you put the tube side up, your alarm's never going to work. Alright, so we put this little thing back under here. I don't know how I got it over there before. One thing I just noticed was the slot in this is a rectangle, so you've got to get it where it lines up. It's not going to go in if you're trying to get it sideways. So I'm going to put it sideways. The hole under it is round, so you can put it any direction you want. You just need to know which direction you put it so that you know which direction to put the piece that's going into it. Dang it, I can't get it to sit there like I did. It went so easily the first time. Alright. Alright, sideways. Okay, that went on. That looks really bent. Maybe it's just how I'm looking at it. Okay, well, I've got that in there. I'm going to flip it over. There was a pin on the back, but it took a lot of pressure on this little spring to get it far enough down for the pinhole for me to even get it out. It was really challenging. So I can almost see it. Okay. This is where you need spare hands. It's not going to work. Good to have a magnetized pair of needle nose. Alright, it started in the hole. Let me just push the spring down and try to advance it the rest of the way. Nope. Okay, I'll be back. Alright, I put a small pin in this hole, so this front side is done, except if I have to adjust that. So the last piece to put in is this hairspring. Little platform. This screw on the front is the pivot that holds this. And the screw on the back holds your time adjustment. So when you put this in your time adjuster wire, the little washer has a pin on it, goes in the hole next to it, but the screw has a little depression in the middle, and that's where these two pivots sit. So I'm going to put a little dot of oil in each one before I put that in there. Okay, so the bottom piece of the hair goes through the little wire, and then it goes over and up. Let me show you that before I get too far. It goes over and up through this. So this is your adjustment for, it holds your, it's not your adjustment, it holds the end of this hairspring so that there's tension so that it works. And it has a little brass wedge shaped piece that goes through it to hold it tight. So I'm going to put it into there. Trying to get it at an angle where y'all can see. And I can see, that would be good if we both could see. End of the wire. Okay, it's up and through there. So I'm going to put the pivot in that screw end. That's my pivot hole. Okay. And then the wire needs to go on this. Nope, that needs to go. It needs to go down that way. So it has to go on before. Maybe I can catch it now. It goes down that way. I could put it on here. Yes. Catch it here. Run it down. Nope, it'll be upside down. It needs to be like that when it gets down there, so I need to put it on like this up here. goes inside the plate. Okay, that'll work. And then my washer. And then the other screw. Okay, so let's get that back in that one and get this one in this hole. Okay, I have it ready to go in the hole. The screw's a hair too far in to let it, but you cannot forget on this platform wheel there's a pin right there. That has to go in the forks, the center forks of this little piece that's attached to your pallet with your pallet pins over there. So I need to turn this around. That in the middle there. Now I'm ready to put this together. It's in the bottom one. Center pallet fork. Washer. Okie dokie, and that just came out. Okay. Trying to get back in the center hole. There's 3 holes there. Okay, it's in the center. Now let's get the screw tightened up a bit. It came out. Whew, this part's fun. I got it in there and turning, but this does not tighten up all the way. So that tells me this piece has to go on top of this plate. So I'm going to take it back apart and do it again. This was quite challenging to get on. The easiest way I found to put it on was don't worry about this or this piece. Put this on with the hairspring and get this on top of the movement with the washer and catch the top pivot in your screw up here. And then you can move the hairspring around and catch it in the little U-shaped piece that's on this. And you can turn this to bring the end of it up through here. But then once you get that in there, this little wedge has to go in to hold it. And when you do that, it skews, the hairspring is so sensitive that if you don't have this little wedge in perfectly, if you got it a little bit at an angle holding the wire, it twists your whole hairspring. I don't know if that'll make a whole lot of difference in the movement. I would think that it would. So I had to play around with it a lot to try to get it straight once it was in there. But we're going to put a winder on and see how it's doing. Winding pretty nicely. Anything happening here? Well, it's trying to strike. That's good. I don't know why. Because that's going. So when I put this together, I put that pin in the lowest part of that, so it thinks it should be doing the alarm. I'm going to let this run for a little bit and make sure it's going to stay running. Before I put it back together on the case. And I just thought I would wind it the rest of the way and let it sit. And my hairspring came out of the little wedge, and my spring came out of my pin is gone. The little pin that holds the end of the spring came out with extra pressure. So now it's not holding. So I'm going to have to take it all the way back apart. It's good to know before I get it all back in the case. That would have been really frustrating. Not that this isn't. So here we are back apart. Got my spring out. Got this back apart. My rivet was inside. The spring had just pulled the rivet out of the little hole that it's in. So it looks like they put a rivet in, they flattened the head, mushroomed it out to catch on the spring. So the spring has a little rounded part and then a slot, like you put the head of this in the rounded part and then it slides forward into that slot to hold it. And what I noticed when I was trying to do that was it would get, if I could hold this little thing, it would get about right in the jaws of that little notch, but it wouldn't go on in the rest of the way. So I was messing with it, trying to get it to do that. And it was late and I was tired and I should have stopped, and I broke the spring right here. It cracked right across there. So I only got half a spring now. So I talked to Mark and I was already asking him some questions about this thing and before the spring broke. So he sent me a video on how to fix that. So we're going to cut this off and make a new hole and use this same spring. The latest magazine I got from Time Savers had springs in it, and I measured it. Actually had this width. The length is 60 inches and they had 53 or 78. So I was either, 78 is not going to fit in here. It's not going to give it time to uncoil. 53 is going to have room to uncoil and run your clock, but you're losing 7 inches. That's a lot of days on the winder. So especially on a 30-hour clock, it probably would make it less than 24 hours that it would run. So anyway, the best option, which I didn't think of, and luckily my friend Mark has much more clock experience than I do, and he said, hey, that's easy to fix, because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's ruined, and he's like, nah, it's easy, just punch a new hole. So we're going to do that. We're going out to the garage, we're going to heat this tempered metal with a torch, let it cool, which will soften it up a little bit so that I can ping it and drill a new hole in there. And then round the end back off. You don't want to leave the end square. Okay. Just to get this little rivet back in the hole and put it on my staking block and tap it in some. where it's, looks like it's through on this side a little bit. So I'm going to take my pinger here, and I'm going to ping all the way around this to tighten this up, and hopefully it will not come off of there again. I have two choices as far as pinging around this rivet to hold it in. This is an automatic punch. If you punch down far enough, it clicks and kicks back and punches. You can see I've made a couple little holes. I thought maybe 2 or 3 around the side would hold it, but it came out again. So I'm going to go all the way around it. So I have an automatic punch, and then I have these little punches, this little set, different sizes, and I feel like I need a bigger, like there's a pretty big punch hole right there. I feel like maybe about this size, not the tiniest, 1, 2, 3. I'm kind of in the middle as far as what sizes. That's pretty much the size of this automatic one. So unless I can get it to go a lot deeper, it's not going to be a very big hole. I want to make a little bit more, move a little bit more brass than that. Okay, so the problem with using this set is not automatic. Yes, it's spring loaded, but, and I don't know why it's spring loaded, but I have to have something to hold this while I hammer it. And maybe I can put it in the vise outside. I hate to do that. My staking block won't fit up in here to let me hammer this odd angle. I can put it this way on the lip of it and hammer inside, but when I want to hammer on the outside, it won't fit. Anyway, I'm going to ping around this and get this on there tight and get this spring fixed. But the spring fix will probably be in a separate video. I decided I had to go with the automatic punch. I've made a bunch of punches around there, but I'll show you how this works. You put it where you want it, press down, and it punches. Oh, make sure your finger's not in the way. Alright, I have my broken spring in the vise. See the cracked piece? I'm getting ahead of myself. I have to cut this off first. Let me get something to cut it with. I'm going to cut this broken spring off. It's cracked right there. Cut it off straight. Maybe. Not bad. Kind of just snapped. It's pretty brittle, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to put a new hole in it so I can put it back in the spring barrel. So I'm going to take a torch. Heat up the end of it until it's red, orange. Starting to change color a little bit. It's just turning orange, and I'm going to just kind of fan it down a couple inches and let it cool. And hopefully that is enough as it cools slowly to kind of untemper it and let me be able to drill a hole in it. So we will know when I tap it to create a divot for my drill bit whether it has softened up. You saw how easily it snapped. It's pretty brittle. It's about 140 years old metal, so we shall see. Hopefully I'm going to be able to save this spring. It has cooled. I used some tin snips to round the edge of this off. This is my new vise I got. It's probably from the 1950s. Cleveland. Swivels. I haven't mounted it anywhere yet. Okay, so my end that I cut off will tell me how far back I need to make the new hole. Alright, I drew a little template on there. Kind of looks off center, so I'm just double checking. It is kind of off center. Alright. So then I'm going to take my divot set and try to put a divot in the middle of where I want my hole. I like this hammer, but the only problem is it's a little skinny handle. It's very hard to hold on to when you're striking things. Alright, I have a little divot. It's not right in the middle, I don't think. Alright, that's going to be to start my drill hole. It's not doing much as far as making a divot hole. I might take my automatic punch and do it, because I think this is just harder steel than this will actually make a mark on. Try a little bit smaller one. I need a real hammer. Alright, let's see. I feel a little bit of a divot. That's good. Alright, I'm going to try to drill that out now. Alright, the previous hole was a 3/32 with this little channel off of it. I'm going to drill a round hole, and at the end I'm just going to kind of come this way and make like a little teardrop shape to hold the end of the rivet inside the barrel. So, y'all all say a prayer, because this stuff is hard metal. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to drill this. Well, my whole thing is wobbling, so I'm not attached. That's backwards. It's walking. Enough of a divot in the middle. It's trying to walk my drill bit off of there. I'm going to put a little bit better divot, and then I'll be back. Alright, definitely got a better divot started. I used my automatic punch about 8 times in the same spot, so it made a nice little hole. So let's try this again. Alright, we got a hole. I didn't make my little lean-to spot. Let's try that. Might take a smaller bit and do that. The neighbors' kids are out playing. The dogs don't think they should be. Alright, so let's see. A whole lot of nothing. Alright. I'm going to try it like it is. In the repaired... Well, first I have to heat it again and then put it in cold water to make it stiff because it's still pretty soft right now. I went inside and tried my hole on the rivet to make sure it was going to hold, and I also kind of bent it around to fit the case. Right now it's soft enough I can bend it the way I want. But now I'm going to heat it and harden it back so that it doesn't continue to bend when I don't want it to in the case. Alright, start up my torch again. There it is, orange. I'm just going to make it fade on back down and take it out. And plunge it in my cold water. It is warm all the way to the middle, FYI. Might want some gloves. Alright. Should be nice and hard again. Yep. Alright. Now we'll re-grease it and put it back in our barrel. Hope y'all enjoyed this. Hope it helps. So, after making my hole, I came in here and put my rivet back in. I had pinged around it. It came out. I had chamfered it and pinged the end of the rivet. Came out. So now I'm making a new rivet out of a nail. I started out with this nail. That's going to be my backup nail. I found this nail, but it was galvanized, so I wasn't real happy with it. But I scraped all the galvanized off, thinned down the top, and I just tried it in the hole. It's still a tad too big. I just cut it off, so I didn't really know how close I was getting, but I'm getting close. I'm going to make this one a tad smaller around the top and a tad smaller around the sides, and put it in there and tap the outside to flatten it, mushroom it. Hopefully I will finally have a rivet that's going to stay in. I've put the clock back together twice. It's come back apart twice, so hopefully third time's a charm, right? So there's my finished product. I was not able to ping this flat with my little hammer that I've got that's got no handle. If someone has an idea on how to make a handle for that hammer that I've got, that'd be great. Leave a comment. I put some of this JB Weld on there and let it dry overnight. So we're going to put it all back in there and see if we can get it to hold. Back together again. Success. My little spring hole I made and my ratchet click holder is holding. It's in beat. Last time I put it together it wasn't. So I didn't have to adjust anything. But if you did, if it wouldn't stay running, there's a couple of things to check. Make sure that your slow and fast little wire here is straight. It's not bent up. It's only putting pressure on the very one outside ring. Because if it's bent up and it's pressing on the ring next to it, it's going to slow the clock down too much to run. What other things did I find? Definitely that thing. And try to get this as straight as you can. And then if you can't keep it running, make sure your little fork here is not bent. And then the last resort that I tried would be to hold this little collar that's on the inside of the hairspring with a pair of hemostats, and once you got a hold of it, you can turn this a millimeter or two and adjust your hairspring slightly that way. But make sure everything else is straight first, because you'll be twisting on that and it's not going to help if you don't have this thing correct. I've worked on 2 clocks now that this was bent and it affected the hairspring. So it's a fine little wire that adjusts the hairspring tension. So yay, I get to put it back in the case. I mounted back to the base. There's 4 screws on the bottom. It lets you a little bit adjust the forward and backward of the movement so that this wheel interacts with the other wheel well on the music box. Then I've got the music box in. There's 1 screw on the bottom and 1 screw on the top up here. So I need to put the face back on and the hands back on. I've oiled everything. I almost forgot to oil it. I've had it apart so many times and back together. I've had to re-grease this spring like 3 times and re-oil it multiple times. So just 2 tiny screws. There's a little cutout right here for that screw, in case you need to get to it, I guess. And these screws are tiny, tiny. Might take me a minute. I'll be back. So with the face on, the hands would be next. And I've got this little tiny hand to put on my alarm clock. But I don't know what is what on this. So what I plan on doing is turn my alarm until it just clicks and starts running. and then make that be midnight, and put my hands on at 12 o'clock. That'd be the easiest way to make everything straight. So this turns this way, and I gotta look for my fan to turn. So when it gets to where it's going to release, this little tiny lever that's on the little spring-loaded thing behind the alarm gear up front here will pop forward and let the fan turn, and that's when the clock can play music. I'm going to stop it at the end of the cycle. Okay, so I'm going to let that be midnight. Trying to see which is the front and which is the back. I believe this is the front. Alright, and I'm not touching the paper. So, part of the reason I had to take this apart was this was bent, and this was kind of bent forward, and the hour hand was getting hung on it. If I set it over here in the wee hours, which is when I have to get up at 4:30, then it would catch on there and cause problems. So, and it was just time to clean and oil it. Well, I guess that's backwards. Nope, that's my minute hand. Okay, so let's try the dials. Looking good. Nothing's rubbing. Hands look straight. Okay, I heard it go ding, so it was about to go off again. So I'm going to set this for 4:30. This is what's going to wake me up in the morning for work. It's a much more pleasant sound than the alarm clock going off. And now, it made a ping like it was going to go off, but it didn't play the music. Need to wind it again, I guess. So with this only having one spring, when the music plays, it winds down your... It's pretty well wound. Okay. I'm going to go around one more time and just see if that was maybe the 12-hour mark, and it'll go off at the next 4:30 mark. Because you don't want it going off in the afternoon at 4:30. Perfect. I think if it had some kind of bass on it, maybe it wouldn't sound tinny on part of it. Okay, so it's 4:30 in the morning, so I can set the time to the current time, which is a little after 9. And put the rest of the case together. I've put the screwed these in just finger tight and put these little shafts over them. The ones to the back have a different little lip sticking out, I think, to hold this back plate. So I'm just going to set these in the holes with that to the back. And then we can slip in front, upside down. Right about there. Flip this over. I think maybe somebody replaced this glass and they kind of chomped it up. They cut glass about like I would. But if you put it at the top, you don't notice that it's rough. And then these are going to hold that all in place. There's a little channel in the top to catch it. Didn't quite have it right. There we go. Alright, and then let's see if I can slip the side pieces in. They're curved, they've got to go behind. Behind my metal poles. Okay, so these are going to go in first because this is what's going to hold the glass. This little curved part comes straight out here and it hooks on the front, so that's going to hold my glass in place. So let's try to sneak these in. They're not sneaking too well. I need more hands. Alright, got that one. I don't have it on the glass. It's behind the glass. There we go. Got it on the glass. In the groove. Alright, now we gotta try to do the other side. Alright, let's see if I'm still on the glass. In front of the glass, so that's good. Okay. Alright, so I have to take these knobs back off to put the back plate in. So this is your speed adjuster. You've got to get it on the little pin right here. Probably can't see that. Yeah, not too bad. So make sure it is up and that you catch your pin. It's been keeping pretty accurate time with it straight up. I gotta get the alarm piece in the hole. I think it's been bent down a little bit. Doesn't want to go in the hole. Close. Alright, let's see if we got this little guy. Good thing we got a window to look through. Alright, everything's back together. To turn my alarm on, I push up. There's little arrows showing you which way to turn the alarm hands. They go clockwise, looking at it from the back, which turns the alarm counterclockwise. All cleaned up. Well, I got fingerprints on the glass, but at least it's on the outside. I can wipe it off. All done. So glad to be done. Yay. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave me some comments, subscribe.